Okay, assalamu alaikum again. So now we will continue with part 2 of Cavalier poetry. We started discussing to the virgins to make much of time, and we said that this poem was written by Robert Herrick, and he was actually addressing all virgins in order to convince them to make much of their time and not to waste their youth without getting married. And he was encouraging them by telling them that your life, you are like roses, you are roses, and the rose has a short span of life. So the rose which is beautiful today and attracts people to pick it will die tomorrow. So your life is similar, your youth is similar to that rose. You are young now, but tomorrow you will become old. Also, he tried to compare those virgins' life to the cycle of the sun in the sky. So the higher the sun goes up in the sky, the closer it comes to the end of its run, and sooner it will sit. The same thing for a young woman who is beautiful at the beginning of her life, but then the worst and the worst will come as she becomes in the middle age and the old age, when she will use her youth, her beauty, and her health. So why to waste the time by being coy? It means shy, or choosy. It means that you have high standards and you reject the men who propose to you. So as long as you are still young and beautiful and men propose to you, go and get married and live your life. So that was the summary of the poem. Now we will move to the next part, in which we will discuss the literary devices. So actually with the literary devices we are saying the same thing but with more focus. So we have a number of literary devices related to a number of symbols in this poem. The first symbol or motif, let's say, is the flowers. Now the entire first stanza of To the Virgins is about flowers. The speaker uses the flower's life cycle to emphasize the brevity or shortness of human life and the importance of seizing opportunities while one can. So if the virgin or the young woman is a flower, then she should know that her life, or let's say the time of her being young and beautiful, is very short. And that's why she shouldn't waste her time and seize the opportunity while she can. Now we have here the metaphor. So the flower's life cycle stands for the beauty of the virgin. We have also personification in this same flower that smiles today. Who smiles? Who usually smiles? The human beings, the people. But when you say that the flower smiles, then this is a personification in which you used a human characteristic for a non-human thing. So this same flower that smiles today, because it's beautiful of course, tomorrow will be dying. So the speaker gives a human quality, which is smiling, to an inhuman thing, flower, of course. The speaker notices how a flower that is alive one day may just as easily be dead the next. Okay, now let's come. We are done with the flowers, but we may visit this symbol again. Let's come to the sun. The entire second stanza of To the Virgins is about the sun's rays. كانت عن دورة الشمس من الصباح إلى المساء. Through the sky. The farther the sun progresses through the sky, the closer it is to setting. إذن كلما ارتفعت الشمس في السماء وتقدمت في السماء كلما اقتربت من المغيب. Likewise, the further one progresses through life, the older one gets. طبيعي كل ما مشت الأيام كل ما كبرنا في العمر. The closer one is to the end, which is death. That's why we said before that the setting is a metaphor, the sun setting is a metaphor of death. Okay? The speaker doesn't come out and say that, but it's very strongly implied. إذن هو ما بيحكي هذا الكلام في القصيدة ولكن متضمن داخل معاني القصيدة. Both in the second stanza and throughout the poem. That our life is similar to the cycle of the sun in the sky. The sun progresses through the sky, which means that it's getting closer to its setting. The same thing, our life. The more we progress in life, the more we get closer to our death. This is the normal thing, actually. Now, in line 5, there is this line, the glorious lamp of heaven, the sun. Okay? This is a metaphor for the sun. I mean, the glorious lamp of heaven. What is the glorious lamp of heaven? The sun, which is like a lamp in that it lights up the heavens just like a lamp lights up a room. Line 8, the sun setting is a metaphor for death at the end of our life. Okay, so two actually metaphors here, okay, for the sun. Okay, the sun, there is also personification. We talked about this one, personification. There is personification of the sun. The sooner will his race be run. His here refers to what? To the sun. The sun isn't a human thing, so it can't really run a race. But here we personified it and gave it the human characteristic of running in a race. So as if the sun is a human being, a man or a woman who is running in the race. And this race actually is a metaphor for our life. It stands for our life. Okay, now we talked about flowers, we talked about the sun. What about temperature? We remember the word warm. We read the word warm. So what is the literary devices related to the word warmer? Now in line 9 and 10, the speaker calls youth the best age. People aren't literally warmer when they are younger. طبعا الناس مش معناه دافيين أكتر لما يكونوا أصغر في العمر وكل ما كبروا بالعمر بصيروا أبرد. لا. So warmer is here a metaphor for health. It stands for health. So warmer, the word warmer implies health. Okay? بتعكس الصحة. قوة أو توحي بقوة الصحة. Vigor, strength يعني, and other things we associate with youth. Then the word warmer actually implies and reflects the idea of health, vigor, and beauty. While coldness is connected with death. Okay? Okay? So while coldness, I corrected it for you here, while coldness is connected with death, then warmth is connected with youth, with beauty, with health, with strength, and with the great things that we have in during our related to our bodies. when we are young, while coldness is connected with death. طيب. Now let's come to the fourth element, which has some literary devices reflecting it: youth and age. Now in the third stanza, the speaker straight up says that youth is the best time of life. This is partly because it is associated with life and health rather than death and sickness. Elsewhere in the poem, he celebrates the prime of one's life. يعني مش بيحتفل يعني بيعمل احتفال، ولكن يمجد أو يشيد به. Okay? The prime of one's life، عز الشباب، prime في عزه الواحد. The time when a person is most desirable for marriage, that is, still young enough to look good and perhaps have children. Okay? So youth is very important according to this poem, because when you are young, you are still beautiful, you are still healthy, and if you get married, you are able to get children. Now in line 1, the speaker tells the virgins to gather their rosebuds while they still can. That is, while they are still ripe, not old or dying. By the end of the poem, it becomes clear that rosebuds are probably a metaphor for marriage. Then when he directed and he gave command to the young women, gather your rosebuds, as if he says, go and get married. So the rosebuds here is a metaphor that stands for marriage. Okay? Fine. Let's go back to the literary devices. Okay. Yeah. We are here. Yeah. Okay. So this is a metaphor for marriage. So the rosebuds, gather your rosebuds. It means go and get married. The rosebuds here refers to the marriage. Type. In line 2, the speaker reminds the virgins that time, all time, is passing and that flowers may die soon. Time doesn't literally fly. So flight is a metaphor for the passage of time, while the flowers are a metaphor for marriage. Their life cycle also seems to be a metaphor for human life. إذا دورة حياة الأزهار هي ميتافور، كناية عن إيش؟ حياة الإنسان. كما هي حياة الأزهار جميلة في البداية وفي النهاية تموت، فكذلك حياة الإنسان يكون الإنسان جميل في البداية وفي النهاية يموت. Which can be beautiful at the beginning but then fleets and ends with death. Okay, line 6 and 8. The sun's progress race through sky is a metaphor for a human's journey through life. إذا في عنا ميتافور عن الحياة الزهرة، حياة الزهرة، the flower، حياتها is similar to our life, its beauty is similar to our youth, and its death is similar to our old age and death. Another thing that is a metaphor for a human's life or a human's journey through life is the sky, is the sun cycle in the sky. So the further along we get, the higher in the metaphor طبعا, the closer we are to sitting or death. I think you understand this point because we talked several times about the sky, the sun in the sky, and it's shining, going higher in the sky. The more it progresses in the sky, the more it gets closer to its setting. The same thing for our life. We get born, which is the shining of the sun, it's our birth. The shining of the sun is our birth. The higher in the sky for the sun is our youth. The progress of the sun in the sky is our middle age, then our old age, and the setting of the sun is our death. Can you imagine the two parallel lines? Okay. Fine. Now lines 9 and 10, the first period or age of our life is best. طبعا أفضل العمر هو بداية العمر. The speaker says. He clearly means youth, or the time when we are not cold or dead, but rather warmer. And we agreed that warmer here is a reflection of health. Okay? Is a reflection of health, vigor, and youth. Okay? Fine. Lines 11 and 12. You can look at your the poem and look at lines 11 and 12. The speaker presents the process of aging as a gradual decline where everything gets progressively worse. إذا التقدم في العمر هو عبارة عن إيش؟ تدهور تدريجي، لأنه صحتنا بتصبح أسوأ كل ما تقدمنا في العمر. Spent meaning used up. Okay, when we say that, okay, let me read the line which uses the word spent. Okay, so here, but being spent. So that age is best, which is the first, when youth and blood are warmer. But being spent, here, the word spent, okay, the worse and worst, then be the worse and worst. Okay, so here, when he uses the word spent, meaning our age is used up, بينتهي عمرنا, is a metaphor for the loss of one's youth. In line 15, when he says, and while you may go marry for having lost but once your prime, okay, old age is described as the loss of one's prime. طبعا الشيخوخة هي فقدان لعمر الشباب. That is the time when one is most active. This is the prime, most able to get married and, for example, have children. So that's the end of this poem. Thanks for watching. I hope that you go and read it again and enjoy reading it after we explained it. Thank you very much.